Character creation is more than just the appearance you'll see in every Dragon Age the Veilguard cinematic. It's also the race, class, faction and difficulty. Thank you to EA for flying me out on behalf of my dude Crazed Gaming, where I was able to play a rather huge 7 hours of the new Dragon Age the Veilguard, ahead of the release on October 31st. First up is Lineage, which is just race, and there are almost no extras here, which I actually quite like, as no racial traits that affect gameplay mean you can just pick the exact aesthetic or roleplay you want to go for without having to think about things like the meta choice. The only thing of note here is that if you pick Dwarf, you can't pick Mage as the class. Next is Appearance, which starts with just some presets, but of course you can customize, and the customization is fairly hefty. You can change a lot, though I wouldn't call it beyond what is expected these days. I think you could make a genuinely attractive character in this, but it'll take you a fair bit of time. Either a huge amount of messing, or you'll need to know the basics beforehand, such as often wanting a little more chin than you expect, same with the nose, though with more definition, not going too hard on the cheekbones and such. Honestly, I'm the type to spend way too long in character creation and end up with a budget Claudia Black. What I started with was better, but I had a time issue. All in all, it's quite good, but not at all peak. And there's a reason I feel it is this way. The characters have to fit with the game, and whether it's due to an old engine or just a design choice, I still feel that they could have got away with far higher fidelity. Instead of these semi-cartoonish features, they could have gone way closer to those crazy 8K skin textures with water droplets on the skin that modders love blessing us with. The environments have some really nice reflections and general shine and clarity, other than a few uncanny valley moments. But I don't think the faces generally live up to them, based on what the average player will create anyway. Part of this is how most people's characters will look decent in the creator, and then as soon as you get a cutscene, the shadows add several decades to the perceived age. IGN's hands-on from last week, however, showed us what level you can take it to. Whoever made that character earned their pay that day. The classes are nice and simple, as you may expect. I would usually want all the options they can fit, but having just warrior, rogue and mage is really nice, and none of them are void of complexity due to the talents and specializations, with all the combinations you could ever want. While you won't get a view of all the talents in the character creator, you can see the class's future specializations here. For warrior we have Reaper, Slayer and Champion, which are essentially Death Knight, Two-Handed Monster and Tank respectively. Rogue has Duelist, Saboteur and Veil Ranger. Duelist is self-explanatory and my personal favourite, just run in and speedily slice everything in range. Saboteur is sneaking into things and utility, using more tools supported with ranged. Veil Ranger is full-on ranged, without the sneak, and honestly I'm not sure Saboteur or Veil Ranger could be as fun or effective as Duelist, but that could be my personal bias showing. Mage has Deathcaller, Evoker and Spellblade, with Deathcaller being the sinister, somewhat warlock type, Evoker being the more purist mage, and Spellblade being nice and obvious. I didn't have time to test out the warrior, though I imagine it'll be the primary class. You're in the fray, deal hefty damage and can take a punch. I played a fair bit of Mage and it was really fun. I'll talk more generously about combat in another video, but Mage was good and mostly fluid, even when I could only fire off basic staff shots while waiting for more powerful techniques to be available. Rogue was the most fun for me, but also took a second to get used to. If there was such thing as an advanced class, this would be it. You need a bit more of a grasp of the battlefield at all times, at least for Duelist anyway. Once you've been playing with it for 20 minutes or so, you'll stop taking all the needless damage and really get into it. Darting from one enemy to another, jumping into the middle of a swarm with a huge AoE lightning attack. Next are factions, which are where what are often racial trait bonuses are located. Each faction will give 3 bonuses, and first is increased reputation gain for that faction. The second is a damage bonus versus a specific mob type, and the third is a more wildcard bonus. It shouldn't confuse you that the Grey Warden faction do higher damage to Darkspawn, or even that the wildcard bonus is increased base defense and health, making it a pretty nifty faction for warriors. Though note the defense and health increase is noted as slight. I unfortunately don't have exact numbers. The Valjumpers faction does increase damage to Fade Touch with a slight increase to critical and weak point damage, good all round. Shadow Dragons do best versus Venatori, with a bonus to mana or stamina regen depending on your class. This may be the most powerful of the bonuses, and it's tied best for style in my opinion. Lords of Fortune do higher damage versus mercenaries with easier enemy takedowns. This one without more data is probably the hardest to quantify. The Morn Watch deals more damage to undead and demons while giving the ability to add an additional affliction to targets, which I believe is a primer to be detonated. The base max affliction seems to be 4, and honestly I doubt most players will be stacking full afflictions most of the time, making this likely weakest, just based on what the average player is likely to do. Lastly are the Antivan Crows, with increased damage versus Antarm and the ability to hold an extra potion. From what I saw, potions are just for health. I didn't see any mention of specialised potions like haste or rejuvenation. This extra potion could be a great choice for newer players, and of course the style is great, looking a bit like a Valkyrie. Overall, I think the faction choice will often be chosen based on loyalty through roleplay, or later after launch based on reputation gain and or damage dealt based on the state of the meta. I don't see the choice being insanely impactful, which is good really, or everyone will choose the exact same one once the game has been dissected. Playstyle is the last major consideration and is the difficulty level. Difficulty is actually really nicely displayed here with a simple yet informative rating of 1 to 5 over 4 different areas. You can choose from 5 presets which you can customize further, ranging from story to nightmare. I went for normal mode, which is referred to as adventurer in this, essentially the middle option to get a good idea of the game's balance, and it seems solid. After that it's just setting your name, the voice and the settings for following on from Inquisition, of which I can't show the particulars. Overall, it's a pretty solid character creator. If you are big on the lore and or like to spend time crafting your character's appearance, you'll definitely have fun going through all this. But for those who just want to get on with the game super fast, you can use presets and speed through it extremely quickly and not pay for it later due to bad choices. The only downside I can really see in my opinion is the difficulty in making a good looking character, which admittedly, considering the amount of cutscenes you'll be watching, isn't a tiny thing. There appears to be an import option for this, and if we can import other people's creations, I foresee a pretty huge market on mod sites for player-made appearance presets. However, like most people, the look of my character isn't going to ruin the game for me. Keep an eye out for the next one, where I'll be going into the gameplay.